listening to the Straight to Video podcast with Rob Lane.
Hey, how's it going? I hope you're doing great, and a big thank you for choosing to listen to my show Straight to Video. Today's chat was a fun one for me with a really cool dude who's seen his journey put in front of thousands upon thousands thanks to his super successful YouTube channel, which has allowed him to share his home videos from the 80s, 90s and beyond, and let us really reminisce on some amazing memories. Len Enders grew up in an era that many of us would love to revisit in a time machine, and even kids today, thanks to the likes of Stranger Things, are grabbing inspiration from for both music and image, and all of this is captured in Len's videos. So much so that one of his recent uploads asked the question if the creators of the huge Netflix show may have actually taken inspiration from it. Check it out and decide for yourself. If you enjoyed my chat with Daryl Hazelrig from the Eric and Daryl YouTube channel a few months ago, then you should definitely check out Len's videos as well, as they're the perfect accompaniment. Len is a little older than Eric and Daryl, so it's a slightly different snapshot of what was going on. So together, you get a real feel and recap of life and pop culture around that time. This podcast, once again, is proudly presented to you in association with Affinity Photo, an incredible piece of photo editing software which I use for graphic design, and it's used to create the podcast's episode art where you see each week with the video cassette design, and it's an extremely affordable alternative to other programs on the market. So if you can, please check them out at affinity.serif.com. Alright, if you enjoyed this chat, please head on over to YouTube and simply search Len Enders for a treasure trove of memories which I know you'll love. Not only is there some amazing footage, but Len does some great videos revisiting his old journals, talking about turning 50 years old, and also going through a box of memories he pulled out of storage. Each video is a treat, which I know you'll love, but right now, please enjoy my straight to video talk with Len Enders.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Brad.
How you doing?
Good.
Just to give people a bit of a background, I believe you're from Washington State over on the West Coast, kind of right near the Canadian border, not too far from Seattle. A place called Port Hadlock is where you grew up.
Yes, totally. So yeah, this is like probably 2.5 hours, 2 hours away from Seattle. So it's actually a peninsula, kind of up in a weird little in its own sort of area. So I'm in a place called Port Townsend, which is right near Port Hadlock. And that is like a little sort of coastal community.
How was that for growing up? Was that a cool place?
Oh, yeah, super. Yeah, it was really cool because it's the kind of place that there's tons of woods, all kinds of outdoor stuff to do. You know, tons of running around in the woods, building forts in the woods, riding BMX around through trails, stuff like that.
Bit of a small town kind of vibe to it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, super small town vibe, yes.
We see a lot of you on your videos from around 15 onwards when you started filming stuff. But what was you like when you were like really young? What kind of stuff were you into? Was you always into art and creative things even back then?
Yeah, I was. But kind of had like a weird home life, was a little shaky in those days. So my dad was big time drinker. I lived with my grandparents for a long time when I was a kid, up till like I was about 10, and then moved in with my dad. And it was pretty rocky, pretty crazy stuff until he quit drinking when I was in like 8th grade.
Did you realize it was strange compared to your friends and stuff like that? Or was that like all you knew? Like, this is just normality for me.
It was totally all I knew. I really didn't understand this was not like normal household stuff. You know, oh, your parents don't stay up until 3 a.m. blasting Pink Floyd
Right.
and pass out into a chair. Or wait, you don't get up in the morning and find your dad sleeping in the bathtub. That kind of thing. But once I started realizing that it wasn't normal, I totally longed for that. Just a regular dinner at 5 o'clock. You need to be in bed by 8 type thing. I loved the idea of that because that was not my reality at all.
What about films and TV that had a big impact? I mean, we grew up in such like a magical time for so many amazing shows. Was TV a big escapism for you with everything that was going on around you, do you think?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Probably Yeah, movies were a huge deal for me too, especially once we got cable TV. That was pretty gigantic. HBO, Showtime, that kind of stuff, all kinds of, movies playing 24 hours a day was so cool.
Yeah. I can still see those HBO feature presentation trailers and stuff like that. I love finding all that kind of thing online.
Yes. Oh, totally. Yeah, I watched one of those recently and it just full on gave me chills. Just the intro, feature presentation or whatever the hell it was. Totally gave me chills.
What were some of your earliest cinema experiences? Because didn't you see Alien with your dad when you were 8 years old?
Yeah, totally. He was always not super, he wasn't super on top of parenting or something like that. So,
Right.
Yeah, he took me when I was 3, I believe, to see The Towering Inferno.
Holy shit.
Which is a disaster movie. And the next movies I saw after that were Star Wars. Yeah. And then Alien. And it it fucked me up kind of. It was pretty intense.
Had any of your friends seen it or anything like that? Or had they just seen photographs?
Hell no. Nobody at all. And I talked about this in one of my videos. I got this movie book of Alien, stills from the movie telling the entire story. And it was just every kid I showed that to was just, what the hell is this?
And you're like, I've seen it.
Totally.
You could elaborate on all the scenes for them.
Yeah. Even though dad was, drunky and crazy, and I only lived with my dad, not my mom. I didn't know her at this time, but we would really regularly go to the drive-in theater all summer. We would go to the drive-in, mostly if it was horror or something stuff that you definitely shouldn't be bringing a 9-year-old to. But so many movies that I saw in that era that I absolutely fell in love with and had to hunt down on VHS and DVD, many years later.
So did you see them all before your friends then? Because you'd seen them at the cinema.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did that give you a badge of pride? Len's probably seen it.
Yeah, kind of, a little bit. Yeah. Once we got to be 15, 16 years old, going to the VHS store. Yeah. And I had already seen all of the terrible ones. Yeah.
Growing up in the 80s, slasher horrors, they were huge. And I know you had a big fascination with the Friday the 13th movies. Was Jason your guy above Freddy, Michael, Leatherface, and all those?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And Michael Myers, I was pretty into that. But Jason almost became a thing where he was more like a meme.
Right.
In a sort of a way. I don't know if you've noticed this from any of my videos, but my friends and I was just everything would get turned into Jason. Any photo in a book, if there was something with woods, Jason would have to be drawn into it, so it was always thinking about where could Jason be that would be not horror appropriate.
Okay.
Like in a shampoo commercial or something like that. It was just always thinking about where Jason could be. And it was really dumb.
Which is your favorite Friday the 13th? Have you got one?
Oh, yeah. Part 3 for sure.
Wow, right.
Because the first one actually terrified me. Saw it at the drive-in. And then I saw the second one at the drive-in also. But part 3 I saw when it came on HBO. And then that was the first one where I was, this is so campy.
Even then you'd figured it out.
Yeah, that's kind of when Jason became a meme to me. Because it was just so ridiculous and over the top and the 3D effects and stuff. And the intro music, dude. Oh my God.
So what can you tell everyone about what you thought Jason's name was? Because that's a perfect example of a pre-internet world where you would not be able to confirm things which you may have misheard.
Oh, yeah, totally. So I had been the one that had gone and seen the Friday the 13th movies and was already thinking about making movies and stuff like that. But I would tell my friends about the movies and I was calling him Jason Voorhees. I don't know how I got it mixed up, but if you only have seen a movie once or whatever, so there was no other way to, at this point, there still wasn't probably Fangoria magazine or something. If there was, it wasn't in the store where I could get magazines. Or Famous Monsters, any of that was not really available. So there was just no way. And so years and years went by of calling him Jason Voorhees And my friends saying the same thing until finally it was around the time of HBO and part 3 comes on HBO. I was like, what? Oh, this whole time? But then that just stuck. So, we just kept calling him Jason Voorhees. But then Voorhees became its own word on its own that we would use as sneaking around, hiding in the woods. If somebody took off and ditched somewhere and you couldn't find them, they Voorhees'd off somewhere. You know what I mean?
That's priceless, that is, that something just develops organically like that. It's
yeah,
brilliant.
oh yeah, totally.
So your local video store, is that the one that features in one of your videos? Was that your main store, or was that one that came along later? Or...
It wasn't the main one in my hometown. Since there were these two towns really close to each other, Hadlock and Port Townsend, and I lived in Hadlock, we had our own video store there, but Port Townsend is very nearby. And it had a couple video stores there. So the video store that is shown in one of my videos is the one in Port Townsend. I never did get any video of the Padlock one.
Because that's like golden footage now. I mean, especially like VHS popularity on the rise. Actually, to see inside a video store now, it's fantastic. It's amazing. Which one was the one where you actually rented your video camera from? Because that's kind of surprising. Like, you had all these videos you're constantly filming, but you never actually owned a video camera for many, many years.
Yeah, so the video store that was in my town of Hadlock, and it was very near to our house, I just happened to be in there one time and saw this little sign that said video camera rental. I want to say it was like $10 for the weekend or like $5 a day. They had some kind of a little deal that made it under $20, basically. And so I would just do work for my dad. This is after my dad was sober. Things are like more cool at our home and stuff like that. And so I would do work for my dad and then go rent the camera for the weekend. And the way that they would do it, if you did it for like a 3-day rental or whatever, you'd pick it up on Friday night and then you'd have it till Sunday afternoon.
So you were getting busy during that weekend. You was like, shit.
Yeah. And I have a lot of people will ask me in comments. They always want to know what camera I was using. But since I was always renting them, the model was always changing because they would keep upgrading, or they would just get, one would get broken and they would get a new one, stuff like that. So I never have any idea of what it was that I was packing around. It kind of sucks. The first few times probably that I was filming with friends and everything, in those days, the cameras, you literally packed around a VCR over your shoulder with a battery in it.
I remember my dad having one back in the day. It's like those things were like huge.
Oh yeah. It was like, I don't know, 8 or 10 pounds, because they made it so it was not as fragile as a VCR or whatever too. So it had to be all bulky and stuff. But the camera was just this little, like a little guy, just a little thing that was attached to a wire, but they didn't have any kind of stabilizing, like when you shake your phone around videotaping, there's auto stabilizing. Try to keep things straight as much as possible. And those cameras that didn't have that at all. So a lot of my first footage is pretty much nearly unwatchable.
Okay.
Throwing a camera like that into a hyperactive 15-year-old kid who's like hopped up on M&Ms and Coca-Cola running around. It's just like one shaky thing. It's just nothing but a blur for an hour.
Can you remember the first thing you filmed, or is that way gone from the memory banks?
Yeah, the first thing that I filmed, we had rented it and somehow we got the idea. I don't know how this happened, but it was that one that had like this VCR basically that you packed around. But they didn't like fully explain it to me at the video store exactly how it worked, or I wasn't paying attention, who knows. But somehow you got a cord that would plug from the VCR into your television. And it was so you could play back what you had been filming on your TV. But somehow we ended up thinking it had to stay plugged into the TV the whole time. So it was a really long cable, but still, we just had it plugged into the TV and we drug everything so it could get outside the window, so we could be outside. But, we could only go, I don't know, 20 feet or something, maybe less than that from the TV. Then we go over to a friend's house and hook it up to his TV, and then we're stuck there, totally not knowing there's a battery in it and we can go walk around. So yeah, the first time that I filmed, it was pretty dumb. And it's pretty unwatchable. There's like nothing. It's just kids making faces in front of the camera. It's dumb as hell. But then by the second time, figured that out. But, you're just walking around town shaking this thing so bad that nothing is in focus, which is a bummer because there was some really cool footage. I took it into the stores, went in buying Coca-Colas or whatever, talking to the people that were like running the cash registers, old school cash registers where you look at the price on the thing and type it in. Nothing was being scanned, but all so shaky.
Damn it.
It sucks. It's totally a bummer.
What was the goal you had in mind back then? Anything in particular? Did you want to get into filmmaking or just love documenting things? Your other videos show how you kept detailed journals and you obviously save a lot of memorabilia from your youth as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I have this weird fascination that I can't explain and I don't know where it came from, where I liked watching how things changed. So I would do stuff like have my bedroom a certain way and then take some photos of it and then move everything around, switch everything, redo everything, move all the posters and stuff. And then would have this weird, satisfying feeling that I had documented it in like, a Polaroid or whatever, but it could never go back to the way it was. I only have the documentation and it can't go back the other way. And so it was this same kind of thing where I liked videotaping everything that was going on and then knowing that in a year or whatever, maybe I won't live in this house or maybe I won't be friends with so-and-so or, whatever. Everything is going to change in some kind of way. But I have it documented. But I also didn't really have any like big plan for it. It wasn't, I'm going to put this in a box and save it and we'll all get together when we're 50 years old and watch it or anything like that. It just sort of went into boxes. And then for a long time wasn't even labeled until I got a little older and started labeling stuff and everything. And then I got a little more anal about it all.
That's really interesting, though, that you had that kind of, that vision for it. That must have stuck with you the entire time. Because, like you said, the video cameras were so cumbersome. You got to a certain age where you're out partying and drinking. That must have been like a pain in the ass. But did that initial thing stay with you all that time?
Yeah, it was weird. I would just get this feeling of a few times a year where it was just like, I feel like I need to like capture the moments that are happening right now or whatever, like our friend group or whatever we're into at that time. And then I would go rent the video camera again and just pack it around for like the weekend and just capture as much stuff was going on as possible. I also was wanting to make horror movies and things like that, but everyone would end up pissed. I would make a whole big plan. That's kind of really actually how I started getting into like renting it regularly. Was initially it was like, I'm going to rent this to make a horror movie and set a date 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, this one weekend, we're going to have the video camera. Okay, get my friends together and go, you're playing so-and-so and you're so-and-so and here's the basic script and stuff. And I would try and figure this whole thing out, even get props ready or fake blood, whatever it was. And then every time it would turn into a thing where my friends would end up getting mad. They'd be sick of me like, no, you're blowing the take, or whatever. You need to do it more like this. And then they would eventually just be, fuck off, dude. I'm going home. This isn't even fun. And so I would have these just started horror movies that were never finished. And then that just led to, well, okay, now I still have the video camera for 2 days. I guess I'll just pack it around.
I'm going to get my money's worth out of this thing.
Yeah, totally.
When did music rear its head and become super important for you? Again, what a time to be a music fan.
Yeah. It really started to probably when I was in about the 7th grade that I found like all the metal bands. Judas Priest and Motley Crue and Scorpions, stuff like that. That's when I really, really started to get like heavily into it. But then I think I was in ninth grade, I finally was able to get a guitar.
Okay.
But I never got good at it or anything like that. So there was some bouncing around for a couple of years of, okay, I have a guitar, but then I'll trade it in and, pay some money. Because I had an allowance at the time. If I did like a certain amount, here's your list of chores, and then you get $10 a week.
Okay.
So I would save that up or do extra work for my dad and then trade in my guitar and get a bass because my friend's playing guitar and we need a bass player or something like that. So it went like that, bouncing around for a while.
You're into a bunch of like the hair metal bands, Motley Crue and Poison feature in your videos. Were they two of your favorites?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they were definitely all the hair metal stuff. I really, really loved that. But then also I found Slayer and Metallica and Anthrax. And so there was a weird sort of, liking hair metal, but then also liking harder stuff.
Yeah, you didn't have to be into one certain thing.
Yeah, right.
All of them were in Hit Parader and Circus Magazine. They're all on the cover at some point, so why not listen to all of them?
It was, though, I feel like back then, though, it was a little more, I don't know if tribal is the word I'm looking for, but punkers wanted to like beat up hair metal dudes, or thrash guys didn't like the punk rock guys, or everybody hated like new wave people or whatever. So if you liked something, like I liked pop music, but didn't tell my friends and, wouldn't admit to stuff like that.
And they were probably doing the same thing as well.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Did many concerts come through town? What was the big place to go and see shows at?
That was in Seattle. At the time, it was just called the Seattle Coliseum, which has since been leveled. It turned into the Key Arena. Now it's been like leveled or taken apart and redone. But then there was also always the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma. And those were the two main places where the big shows would be at.
Where'd you see Motley Crue at? Was that your first gig experience, or had you seen somebody before then?
That was my first the first real one. I went when I was like a little kid and saw the Beach Boys, which didn't really move me. It was just my dad bringing me to a thing that he liked. So I was just sort of like, it's cool, but I don't know. And then Motley Crue came to Seattle opening for Ozzy Osbourne on the Bark at the Moon tour. And so my dad dropped my friend and I off, and we were just like absolutely terrified. This was like, we were in 7th grade.
I guess Ozzy was is most people thinking he was son of the devil.
Yeah. And we were just, little kids. So we're cruising in just all these just full on rockers, and coming from a small little town, it was just a scene that we had no idea fully about.
Equal parts terrified, equal parts like so excited.
Oh, yeah. And really seriously, is there going to be some kind of like Satan worshiping thing going on here or something? We don't know. And one of the things I'm bummed about that show, we went all the way to the back of the Coliseum, got stage level. So we were like level, but at the back. And we went all the way back there just simply because we were too scared of being too close. We were like, what's going to happen? Will they start, sacrificing or something? Or like, what will happen to the people up front? Yeah. So we just went up in the seats and stayed back there.
Oh, man. But mind blown when Motley Crue hit the stage.
Oh, yeah, fully. And I bet now if I watched a video of it, they were so drunk and barely holding it together. And I bet Vince Neil just sounded like absolute dog shit. But at the time, we're just like, this is amazing. One of my do you know the song Balls to the Wall by Accept?
Yep.
So before anything played, it wasn't like an opening song, but they had songs playing just over the sound system. And as the place is filling up, it's getting a little louder and a little louder as they're slowly bringing the lights down a little more. They're starting to just pump out a little bit of fake smoke, and the atmosphere is building. And I remember Balls to the Wall came on, and I'd never heard that song. Even listening to it now, it sounds like it's in a Coliseum. You know what I mean? Just huge. And that was when I was like, oh man, kind of freaking out. whatever this song is, this is fucking heavy. And there were all these rocker dudes singing along, chanting balls to the wall and stuff. I kind of remember that more than Motley Crue's songs and their performance.
How crazy, though, that you remember all those little details about this very first gig. You've probably been to hundreds of gigs since, but you remember those fine details about that very first show.
Totally. Yeah.
You've been in various bands over the years, from Skeleton Crew, Circle of Fear, a one-off gig with a band called the G-Spots, SMF with the Heavy Metal Warrior, who features on your channel. Skeleton Crew were the one that took you out to Hollywood, though. You made the jump out there without much of a game plan, unfortunately. But in hindsight, how was that whole experience getting to see things out there just before the industry changed? Because I think your Night on the Sunset Strip 1991 video is actually how I found out about your channel. That was what introduced me to it.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it was a trip because we were definitely, if we want to do this for real, we've got to go to LA. We have to be in Hollywood. And the small town we were living in, even by that time, it still didn't have MTV. So we have no clue really what's going on except for whatever plays on the radio and whatever they're showing in like Circus Magazine.
Yeah.
So in Circus Magazine and Hit Parader and stuff, all they talk about is we went to LA and then we got a record deal. And so there was no other way that we knew of. And it was really actually super exciting and at the same time, like really scary because as you can imagine, there was no Google.
No MapQuest even then.
All you could do was go to a store and buy a map of California or specifically the areas that you wanted. And my friend, who was our singer, Derek, he was the only one who had traveled that at all because he had driven up from San Diego to visit us and then ended up, staying and hanging out and then becoming our singer and everything. So he was at least, we just get on Interstate 5 and we just keep driving and we'll get there.
Okay.
But we didn't even end up staying on that for some reason. We ended up going like a coastal highway and kind of getting lost and stuff. But there was only two of us. It was just me and him that went initially because our plan was the other two guys had jobs and were making good money. So we were like, we'll go ahead of you guys and find an apartment and, get stuff set up.
Maybe get the buzz going for the band.
Yeah, right. And so we went ahead and then they followed, I want to say 3 weeks later or something like that. They rode a bus down. Then they were, of course, super bummed. I mean, we're not even talking to them. It's just, hey, we're going down there and then go to my dad's. He'll have an address, that kind of thing. So we're not even like talking on the phone or something. It's not like we're in touch and stuff. It's just meet you in Hollywood in like 3 weeks.
Holy
Is that cool?
shit.
So once they got there, the other two dudes, and then found out we did not have an apartment or anything. And we had been like staying in the car, kind of staying at the guy's cousin's house, which we were staying with his cousin for a bit. And it was these two girls. And they were very clear. When your friends get here, you are not staying over. They were already over us. They already wanted us out. But like bringing two more, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
So we immediately went to living in this car.
Dude.
In a parking lot. And it was pretty dumb. Then the guitar player, he was like the only smart one at that point, was I'm just going to go home and make some more money and I'll be back, quote unquote. So he hopped on a bus and went home after, I don't know, a week or two. Then we just toughed it out, sleeping in the car until the car broke down. Then we didn't have a car anymore. We just left it in a random parking lot and then drug around our blankets, literally like fucking hobos.
Oh my God.
Just smelly blankets and our couple bags of whatever, our clothes. And then we ended up finding a shopping mall or a shopping center sort of thing. I wouldn't say abandoned, but it was being renovated or something like that. So it was currently all boarded up. There was nothing going on in there. We couldn't get into it, but we were sleeping behind it where the dumpsters go, like the garbage spot. And there was security patrolling around it and stuff. So we'd have to kind of hide ourselves back in this spot. And it would be like rats running by and whatever. And we would just shoplift airlift all of our food.
What was keeping you down there? What was making you tough it out?
It was basically, to be honest, it was just that we said we were going to, and we didn't want to look like assholes going back home. And then plus we were mad at our friend, the guitar player, for like, quote unquote, ditching us.
You just stubborn, basically.
So we were like, we'll fucking show him, we're going to become huge. But, like I said in my video, we didn't have guitars. We didn't have any instruments. We hadn't written anything. Sometimes we'd be sitting in the car trying to write lyrics or something. But besides that, we were doing nothing. And we couldn't find anywhere to stay or whatever. So yeah, we were just straight up hobos. Found a kid who had advertised to play guitar and hooked up with him, but he was a little bit younger and he was cool, but he could actually play fully rip, way out of our league, like way, way beyond. But I had noticed at his house that his mom had a video camera. So one time I asked him if he could bring that and come out and hang out with us. And he brought a couple friends, and then we just went down to the Sunset Strip and cruised around, and that's what that video was.
How long was you actually out there for before you realized things weren't going to work out?
Maybe 6 or 7 months. So it wasn't a long time. So what ended up happening, how it ended, we were trying to sort of relocate ourselves to be near where this guitar player kid lived, because he lived like a freeway drive away. And we found a park out near his house. We were like, oh, we'll start sleeping there. And we went and stashed all of our stuff in the bushes by this park. And like I said, it was hobo looking shit. We've got full on big blankets with all of our stuff wrapped up in them, dragging them along and then throwing them in the bushes.
Oh,
and then we left from there and we were walking down to just go to like a 7-Eleven or something. We walk like a block from there and all these police come firing up, just like cars surround us with guns and stuff. Get down on the ground. And we're just like, what is going on? And what had happened was there was a rash of burglaries in that area recently. So somebody saw us dragging everything wrapped up in our blankets out into the bushes and called the police and was like, the robbers, the burglars, they've stashed in the bushes, whatever. So they've got us there. And then they're on like their radios talking to some other guys that are a block away. And they're like, there's nothing in any of these but just filthy clothes. And so one of the cops was talking to us and he's just, what are you guys doing? And we're telling him we want to rock. And he was the first person to be like, this is stupid. Like, we're explaining what we're doing. And he was just this real nice police officer. He was like, you guys should just go home, live with your friends or live with your parents and go where it's cheaper. And why are you doing this? You're literally in the bushes like hobos. And then I think he had also, only one of us had an ID. And I don't know how true this is because I've never looked into it, but he was like, not having ID is illegal and you can go to jail for that. And if you get stopped again without ID, it's possible you'll be arrested until they figure out who you are, that kind of thing. So then we got all kind of spooked too. We were like, oh man, are we going to end up going to jail on accident for not having ID?
Bit of a wake-up call for you then.
Yeah, totally.
You're supposed to like hit it off with hot girls and live in their apartment. They pay for the food and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what you should be doing.
I know. We just like shit the bed bad, completely. And there were even these moments where I remember multiple times where we were just like walking, because even though we were still like dirty and stuff, we were still long, bleached haired rockers with no shirts on and shit. There were multiple times that girls just pulled up alongside the road. Do you guys need a ride? What are you doing? And, oh no, we're cool. And I don't know why.
We need a shower. We could do with a shower.
I'm pretty sure it was because we stunk, because we really smelled bad. There was a point where I went for a full month without a shower or getting in any kind of water at all.
Man.
And I ended up, when I did get in the shower and took a shower, all of my skin was coming off under my armpits. I know this is too much info, but because I'd been putting on deodorant and not washing it off. And so it was so disgusting. So we weren't really in a shape to be like hanging out with girls, even though, I mean, we probably still could have found some weirdos to hang out with anyways.
Did you get to see any cool bands when you're out there?
No, actually, I think the only real show we went to was like a free show at the Troubadour or something on a Wednesday night. You know, here's some up and coming bands that will play for free, basically. And it was just dumb. I mean, the whole thing, it was stupid all the way around.
It was worth it for that one video, though, mate. You got that one video. There's not many of them circulating.
Yeah, got that one video out of it. And then besides that, it was just idiots in every direction is all we were, total.
What was your reaction to the whole alternative movement that followed shortly after? Did you and your friends just embrace it? Or was you like into it all?
Yeah, well, being that we were from the Pacific Northwest, there was like rumblings of it for a while. And I really loved hair metal and wanted to hang on to it, honestly. But by like 89, it was the same trick over and over. Everybody's just trying to redo Home Sweet Home and Every Rose Has Its Thorn in some kind of way. And I feel like it was like probably Skid Row-ish era when they came out that was the last where I really dug it. And then it just started to get a little too cheesy. So as much as I was trying to hang on, it was getting too lame for even me, like trying to be there for hair metal. It was getting too stupid. So by the time everything crumbled and grunge fully exploded, like made fun of it for a while, but was into it at the same time.
Because you got to see Pearl Jam, right? Did you get a free ticket?
Yes, yeah. Actually, yeah. It was a Drop in the Park show that they did in Seattle.
Had they blown up at that point?
Oh, yeah, they were huge. If I remember right, it was kind of like they're coming back to Seattle and like saying thank you sort of thing. So they had this free show with Cypress Hill opening and Seaweed. But what was cool about it, it was in this park and you couldn't drive to it. So they had buses going just all day long. And so every, 20 minutes or something, you just had to be at one of these bus stops and they would pick you up and bring you out there. So it was really cool that we were able to go over, just get on a free bus, go to a free show. And yeah, it was awesome.
So to fast forward, when did you get the idea for the YouTube channel? Was it around like 2016, 2017 when you started uploading videos?
Yeah, so it's weird because I was actually not going to do anything like that with YouTube. Was not my plan in any sort of way. Like I'd been sitting on these videos for a while, but I just never really thought about uploading them for some reason, never thinking about them. And I was actually doing a music project where I had created a virtual band. So it was a virtual illustrated band, kind of like the Gorillaz would be. There's a huge famous example where I drew all the characters who were the band, came up with stories about them, but I also made their music too. And it was evolving and becoming way too much work for me. Like I can draw, but I don't love drawing and I'm not fast at it. So it was getting more and more complex. Oh, I need to make music videos to go with the music and try to kind of figure that out. Then it was like, it needs a web comic and all this other stuff. So I'm drawing all this stuff and someone else who's like way better, faster artist probably could have handled all of it easily, but not me. I don't know. It was sort of a cool concept, but not that I could do by myself. I wasn't pulling it off. Mm-hmm. And at one point, I just had this idea of, what if I threw up a couple of those 80s videos, but then put down in the description links to all my virtual band stuff. And then maybe people will see the video and then come start clicking on that, which did not happen at all. Like nobody gave two shits about my virtual band and like whatever music I was trying to make. Instead, I kept getting more and more comments and subscribers to these few videos that I had put up of the 80s. And so then one day I was just like, why do I keep fucking with this virtual band that I'm stressed out all week trying to draw it and stuff and everything? So then just got into doing that instead. If people actually are reacting to it, I might as well mess around with it.
How long had it been since you'd watched any of the footage?
Oh, so many years.
Yeah.
So I actually transferred the stuff to DVDs. I digitized all of it in like 2007. So the tapes, they would be a lot more degraded now, probably. But I'd already transferred them and put them on DVDs and sort of stashed them away. So it was like pulling them all out again, and going through them. I don't want to just upload any dumb old thing. Someone doing something in the 80s. I just find that boring. So I try to like dig through everything. Where's the funny moment? Where are those like little nuggets that are fun? And then actually the story time type videos, that was a complete accident too. I was using this app called Marco Polo. Instead of video chatting like we are now, you would say a sort of a text message in video and send it to your friend, and then they would video back to you. Anyways, me and a friend were doing that. He had sent me something and I had a bunch of photos that I was going through at the moment, and I was holding a couple up. It was photos of when we went to Hollywood that I was happened to be going through. And I was like, yeah, dude, we, and I was holding up just on this video. And then he wrote back to me, dude, why don't you do that and put it on YouTube? Everything that you just said right there and showing photos, I was so into it.
Brilliant.
That's what gave me the idea. Because I'd seen storytime videos on YouTube, but they were almost super boring, just sitting in front of the camera talking.
Well, I love the one with your journals. That's a great one where you compare it from back in the day. You did a video of your journal in 1989, and then you dug it out again. That's
yes.
great. And then there's the one with your box full of memories. That's a brilliant one as well, because there's so much shit stashed in that box. It's fantastic.
Oh, so much stuff. That was like a mind blower because I hadn't looked through it in all those years, So it was totally a trip.
Was it the House Party Gets Busted video that got the initial traction on the channel?
Totally. Yeah, for sure. I think someone had posted a link to it on Reddit somewhere, and that was the initial, where it started getting traction.
Have the videos reconnected you with anyone from the past? People who you've not heard from?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Mostly I have been friends just on social media with so many people for all these years. So a lot of them I was already connected with in just like that sort of social media way. But yeah, some people have popped out. And then there's also, some, because I'm friends with a lot of the people still, I go through and I try not to edit anything. I don't want to like take anything out of them. But if here's my buddy doing a bunch of blow, oh, here's somebody hanging over, throwing up, laying in their own vomit.
Who's got 3 kids.
Yes, exactly. Like one of my friends were like, bro, I'm kind of dealing with something with my teenager and is partying, and it wouldn't be a good look if he saw me with, a dollar bill stuck up my nose. So I've had a couple people that are like, I know you've got a video where I'm like laying in my puke and I've got my dick out. Could you not? And I'm like, yes, totally. So I go through and try to not only be respectful to whoever, whatever their life is now, and I don't want to screw it up for them, but also, YouTube just keeps getting stricter and stricter. It's just becoming the Disney Channel. It's so annoying. So like many of my videos just get demonetized because, there's too much cussing in this.
Oh man, I didn't realize they pulled it up for that.
One of the ones that bugs me the most is I have one where it's me and my 2 friends reunite and go up to this place, Big Rock, and we're, flashing back through all this old video and all the stuff we used to do up there and everything. And that one is demonetized. I've had it reviewed twice by a human, and both times they've said, sorry, this one violates big time. Not enough to take it down, but violates. But they won't tell me what it is. I think it's me climbing around in the tree, us hanging off this tree. They think of it as like dangerous stunts. That's the only thing I'm guessing.
Then there's all these like 9/11 conspiracy videos up there and all this kind of thing.
Totally. Or the other day, I don't even remember what band it was. Some rock band was like, new video. And it had them being all bloody and cut up or something. And I'm just like, why do these guys, obviously it's because they're huge and get huge views and stuff.
Do you have a particular video that you'd like everyone to check out if they were going to dive into your channel for the first time?
For the first time, probably either that reunion one is a favorite of mine, or maybe the flip through the high school binder one, I think is a pretty good example of what to expect on my channel or something.
How much contact have you had with Eric and Daryl? Because their channel, like yours, had Nickelback reach out to use some of the footage.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a sit-down video with all of you would be pretty fun, I think.
Yes, yeah. Actually, I have talked to him a little bit. And every once in a while, we'll go back and forth on Instagram and stuff. But after that Nickelback thing, we totally talked about, okay, we should do a video together for sure. But we don't know what. They're on the totally different side of the country from me. So there have been, just, we have to do something sometime, but we don't know what.
It'd be great because the two channels work great because their stuff's where they're 12, 13, 14, 15, whereas yours goes from 15 to early 20s and onwards. So it's a really good timeline of how things were for people at different ages.
Yeah. Definitely want to at some point.
Kind of in closing, what does the future for the channel hold? Is there still a lot of stuff to go through, or have you managed to get through most of it?
I do still have a lot of stuff to go through, and I have a bunch of those story time, almost documentary-ish ones planned. Part of the thing is, though, is they just take me so long. When I'm here's a story or here's a part. I mean, I'm sure you can imagine with something going through that chest of stuff. Is oh, I know I have a photo of this moment I'm trying to talk about. Where the hell is it? And then I'm obsessed with it. I know I've got that photo, or I know there's a video clip of this one thing where we did that one thing and I've got to find it. And then I'm just digging.
Hours and hours for a 10-second clip.
Literally, it'll be like that for a 10-second clip that works perfectly that I'm yes, but that took a week and a half.
Oh, man.
One of the things that I really don't want to do with the channel is content creation, quote unquote.
Okay.
Just coming up with stuff to try and please the algorithm, or, oh, don't forget about me. Here's a video, keep watching type thing. I only want to do the stuff that I'm inspired to do that gets me pumped. So I do have a bunch of stuff on my list to do, but it's gathering all the materials and everything like that. And then at the same time, in between there, I'm also going through just looking for, just a moment, day in the life thing or whatever. But I just really try to make them not, oh, here's just a dumb thing that I'll upload just to keep the audience there or something like that. Because as you're sitting on YouTube, not that I care really about the monetization part, because I don't get any really cool money from it, but you log in and then it's just you see all the arrows pointing down. It's just all the views, money, subscribers, everything is just red arrows pointing to the ground.
Tears going down your cheeks.
Totally. So it's a bummer, but I really try not to, get, oh, I need to do something now. I have to.
Can we expect a 1989 Batman recap, what with the new Flash film coming out with Michael Keaton in it, do you think?
Probably not, but that's a cool idea, though. No, I'm sure I'll be wrapped up in other things on my list. Yeah.
That was huge back then. 1989 Batman. It'll never be as big as that.
Oh, yeah. And I was just so about it. I loved it so much. I rewatched it recently and was I don't know if this holds up.
I've not seen it for a while.
It was still fun, but it was way campier than I remember. I was just so into it then,
You couldn't escape it. That logo was just everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Len, I'm going to let you go. I've kept you for way too long. Could talk about this stuff for days. Really appreciate you spending some time with us. It's been very, very cool.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for having me on. This is great talking to you.
It's been a lot of fun, man. Hopefully get some people from the UK onto the channel.
Yes, that would be awesome, dude.
Wicked, mate. You enjoy the rest of your day. It's been a blast.
All right, you too, man. You take care. Later.
Massive thank you to Len Enders for joining me on today's episode of the Straight to Video podcast. That really was a treat, and I hope you'll check out his videos over on YouTube by simply searching Len Enders, or find him on Instagram at Len_3. That's 3 as in THREE. Let us know which videos you enjoyed, and be sure to drop a comment on the videos themselves to show your support. For more of an 80s nostalgia kick, you can visit our 80s video shop in Alfreton, Derbyshire, which is open at the weekend from 11 till 3 p.m. We're just 10 minutes from junction 28 of the M1, and if you're listening when this episode goes live, we have a special book launch evening on Saturday the 17th of June with our friend Andrew Haunt, who is releasing his new book, a revised edition of VHS Ate My Brain, which will be available on the night along with a Q&A plus his horror trailer compilation showing in our screening room. It's going to be a blast. Entry is free and the night runs from 7 till 10 in the evening, so hopefully we'll see you there. Alright, that is all for today's show. The next few chats are already in the bag and they're real good ones once again, so please come back next Friday. But until then, remember to always be kind, please rewind and unwind, and I'll speak to you all real soon.